This is the Chatbot Roadshow. Today I'm joined by Justin. How are you today?
Good, Greg. Thanks for having me.
So we're going to do a little demonstration on a med info desk chatbot. So before we start, maybe let's just level set and define what a med info desk actually is.
Sure. So a medical information desk is a desk of highly trained agents or medical practitioners provided by a pharmaceutical manufacturer to answer inbound questions about a drug. And those questions can be coming from patients who might want to know if they could crush clavoprene, this fictitious drug, into milk. It might come from providers who need to understand side effects before prescribing a drug, or pharmacists who are trying to understand the clinical particulars of a drug before dispensing it to a patient.
And these generally are call centers and websites?
Yeah, generally they're call centers, they're teams staffed across regions, so they have to be able to support all the regions where a drug is allowed to be prescribed. And there's usually a mix of highly trained agents, nurses, and in some cases, medical practitioners for highly complex questions.
And this is not a cheap thing to administer if you're a manufacturer.
No, not at all. If you think about the industry, there are over 20,000 drugs that are approved for marketing globally right now. And if you think about what it takes to staff a multilingual call center that is able to answer these types of questions in any time zone across geographies, that could be running you anywhere from $25 to $60 per inquiry to respond.
Okay, but despite that, it's still not that great of an experience if you're a patient or physician that's coming into this thing to get answers.
No, unfortunately, the experience hasn't changed too much in the last 10 years. The primary way patients, pharmacists, or providers reach a medical information desk is still by calling them, or they could choose to navigate to the summary of product characteristics or the prescribing information and try to get to the right answer in a 20 or 30-page PDF. And email is probably the newest way that you can reach one of these medical information desks, but that's still not real time or ideal.
So what's prevented the experience from being that great?
Yeah, the irony is that these medical information teams have a lot of information that they can share with patients or providers, but they're so tightly scripted, they're so highly regulated that they have to follow a laundry list of compliance requirements that unfortunately makes them incredibly scripted.
Right, and as you can see here, there's a long list of bulleted tasks that the human agents must robotically do as part of one of these inquiries.
Right.
So, broadly speaking, if you think about technology and where it's headed, it's moving to this new conversational modality, which is inherently mobile. It's messaging, often either through voice or the way we message through texting with friends, which is proven to be very sticky when compared to pretty much every other form of electronic communication on Earth. We're also seeing examples of this kind of technology working its way into other sectors of B2B or B2C, whether it's hospitality, retail, or banking. So how does this work for MedInfo?
Yeah, so to pull off a conversational experience in medical information, again, you have to align yourself to all of those regulatory and compliance requirements to deliver the type of experience that feels good if you're on the receiving end of it as a patient or provider, while still following the same types of tightly bound workflows that agents are currently following. And that's exactly what we've done with Lifelink's solution for automated MedInfo call centers. So to pull something like this off, first of all, you need a chatbot experience that can be accessible across any platform. You need to be able to actually automate the full answer. So it's not just about automating the collection of a question, but it's actually delivering the answer as well. You need to be able to configure the workflow because every manufacturer is a little different, every product is a little different, and there are always nuances that you have to anticipate. You need to be able to generate analytics and insights out of that. You need to be able to update the content. You need to leverage technology from the elephants in the room, the Googles, Amazons, Salesforces of the world, while still staying compliant. You need to be able to integrate it to their systems of record, and you need to deliver this all in an enterprise-grade infrastructure and security. So it's a lot of pieces that you need to pull together to deliver a chatbot experience that's compliant and performant.
Okay, so at Lifelink, we are doing all of that. And now let's get into showing exactly how that manifests into an actual experience that a user would get when they check in through a chatbot to one of these digital MedInfo desks. So in the demonstration today, we're going to focus on three areas. The first is going to be the always-on, on-demand nature of this capability. The second, we'll talk about just different channels of where it can be delivered. And the third is the analytics that come along with it. Let's begin by showing the on-demand conversational agent that might handle some of these inquiries.
Great. So let's jump in here. This is a MedInfo bot for clavoprint, a fictitious drug. And you can imagine that you could access this chatbot from any number of places. But currently, I'm a patient looking up an answer to a question that I have, and I'm on my mobile phone. One of the things that a MedInfo bot has to do is to be able to only deliver specific answers to specific roles of people. So a patient gets a different set of content and approved answers than providers. And you can see that the experience is conversational, it's patient guided, you're navigating through this conversation, and you can search against any set of approved answers that the MedInfo desk has been able to provide in the past. So this chatbot is trained exactly the same way that a MedInfo agent is trained, and it's able to deliver that answer in real time without having to wait on hold or call back if the MedInfo desk is closed.
Okay, cool. So I want to use this thing, or I want to deploy this thing, and the next question becomes, how is it delivered through different channels where users could come and engage with this thing?
Yeah, so one of the primary channels for accessing a medical information desk, of course, is the product website. That's where a lot of people source the number or email address to reach a medical information desk. So it'd be natural to deploy a MedInfo chatbot on that product website and allow patients, pharmacists, providers to get to that base of content directly from the product website.
Okay, is it just the website, or are there other places that you could get it through?
Yeah, so like we were discussing earlier, one of the other primary channels of accessing a medical information desk is just picking up the phone and calling. But because the types of agents that you're staffing a medical information desk are so highly trained, they're usually only staffed 9 to 5 on the weekdays, which means that if you're calling off hours, you're not going to be able to get to an answer short of combing through that 30-page PDF yourself. So another place you can deploy a chatbot like this is actually in the IVR, the interactive voice response system of the medical information desk. So imagine I have a question about clavoprint. I look up the number and I call the medical information hotline.
Thank you for calling the clavoprint Medical Information Desk. We are closed until 9 a.m. Pacific on Monday morning, but I can direct you to a digital assistant that can answer your questions. Would you like me to send you the digital assistant?
Yes.
Okay. Is 333-444-5555 the best number to text you at?
Sure.
Okay. You should be receiving a text message shortly. Click the link in the message to begin chatting with the digital assistant.
So you can see for a patient calling into an IVR like this, it's a much better experience. It's a lot less frustrating to be able to get to an answer when the agents aren't available, rather than the current state where they just have to wait till Monday morning when that desk is open.
Okay, cool. So what if I have been prescribed the drug and I want to learn a little bit about it? Is there an easy way for me to get to this through that process, the fulfillment side?
Yeah, another natural place to equip patients and providers with this type of literature or this type of access is actually on the pill bottle itself. So you can imagine that you can deliver the product with a QR code that triggers this medical information chatbot. And what you're doing by providing so many channels to access the chatbot from is increasing the surface area of your medical information team, which allows you to better equip patients and providers with improved comprehension about the drug, while also offloading a lot of the rote inquiries that your agents were handling before.
Right. And what's actually really cool about this is gone are the days where you have to download a QR reader app. Newer versions of iOS have that embedded in the phone, correct?
That's right.
So it doesn't require much learning to figure out how to use QR codes, which is really cool. Okay, so someone's implemented this. You're collecting all of this great data. There's got to be a really nice analytics dimension to this whole thing.
Yeah, medical information desks have always been seen as a necessary evil. They're a cost center that you have to equip a product with before you go to market. And one of the opportunities that we've missed is the ability for a medical information desk, especially one with increased surface area like the one we're talking about, to be a center that's generating a lot of insights and analytics into how this specific drug's content is performing out in the wild.
So why don't you walk us through a couple of different examples of the kinds of things that you get to through this capability?
So if you deployed a medical information chatbot like this, and you have patients, providers, and pharmacists regularly using it, you can imagine the types of analytics that you're gathering are far deeper and richer than any type of analytics that you've had in the medical information space before. You have turn-by-turn analytics of patient said, chatbot said, patient said, chatbot said that you're monitoring. And to start, you have a top-line performance dashboard where you can understand how the chatbot is automating first-line inquiries. So you can see how many conversations it's held, how many answers it's delivered, how many of those conversations resulted in an escalation to a second-line agent, as well as Net Promoter Score. And you can use this data as a medical information manager to help guide your team and improve their performance over time. So you can understand why Net Promoter Score and sentiment is high in certain areas and why escalations happen in these topic areas but not in these topic areas. And you can also slice that data by user role. So because the content base is different from providers, patients, and pharmacists in some cases, you want to understand those dynamics and dive into it because you might have different teams that are covering those different user roles. So you could also look at that same data by just the patient role instead of the provider role. And if you wanted to dive into sentiment and Net Promoter Score and understand what factors are really driving that, you can have all that data at your fingertips, understand conversation length, to understand success rates, understand how many questions they asked and how many answers the chatbot was able to deliver versus number of escalations to second-line agents.
Right. So I'm a marketing guy, and one of the things I love to look at when I look at my website activity is just user flows, patterns of where people are going. I got to believe that there's that capability here as well in terms of conversational flows and patterns.
Yeah, if you really look at what's happening in a chatbot conversation, you're able to track turn by turn of the conversation. And what that allows you to do is to understand what patients are interested in, worried about, trying to understand, and you can tweak the content over time to address those concerns. You can see here all the different channels that a patient or a user came in on, and you can see what types of inquiries they had related to the summary product characteristics or the prescribing information. So first of all, you can see topic area. And once you see topic area, you can see if they had additional questions, related questions, or if they dropped off or completed conversation. So over time, this becomes almost a tuning fork that allows you to drive not just the prescribing information and product characteristics, but also your market-facing material. And that's exactly the type of insight that a medical information team could generate for their market-facing colleagues.
This is cool stuff. And lastly, we should talk about a use case. And there is a press release from LifeLink about Roche deploying a solution that's very similar to this.
That's correct. Roche UK has deployed a LifeLink medical information chatbot for Ocrevus, which is an MS drug. And this chatbot is delivering that exact type of first-line inquiry automation that we're talking about.
Right, and you can find this press release on the LifeLink website, resource library under press releases. It's really easy to find and give it a read. Okay, well, Justin, thanks a lot. That was really insightful.
Thanks, Greg.
Hope you've enjoyed this episode of the Chatbot Roadshow. You can find other hospital, pharmaceutical, and research solution demos in our resource library at lifelink.com.